Hello and welcome to the Alexandra Wenman Show. I'm so excited to introduce you to my guest today. Angelina Kalahari is a former operatic singer turned authoress, and she tells amazing stories from around the globe. This woman is a very successful writer, and she's also a, what will I call you, a voice maestro.
I love that.
A voice maestro. At present, I am having singing lessons with this amazing woman, but she's much more than a singing teacher. I mean, you've travelled the globe. Tell us a little bit about your singing, career to begin with.
Yeah, well, I started very young, as I think most singers do. I think, when you're at primary school, you kind of get introduced to choirs and stuff like that. So that happens when I was about 5, and I started singing then. And then I started singing professionally when I was 7.
7 years old.
Yeah, so now I'm 1,000 million years old. So you can imagine how long. Is that long?
You are in lifetime.
Yes, exactly.
Lifetime.
Yeah, so it's been a long career, and I was very lucky. I got to travel all over the world. I sang with the most fabulous people at the most amazing, venues and wonderful music. Yes, mostly opera, but I sort of dabbled in other things as well. And of course, I mean, the repertoire in opera is amazing anyway. So who would not want to sing that if you can,
Amazing. But it's hard work, right? I mean,
it's extremely.
Most people don't think that singing is hard work, but
it's true, they don't, and it is. It's very physical. And yes, it takes years to train your voice, and not just your voice, it's to do with performance as well. How you come across, how you connect with an audience on a deeper level, And I think that's so important, and that's what I try to instill in my students when I work with people. And I've been lucky because when I wasn't singing, I was teaching, and it's interesting when you teach, you learn more.
Yeah, you do, don't you?
Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Yeah. The minute you teach something, because you have to break it down and you have to not only understand it here, but you have to understand it. And so I remember studying with opera singers who used to say to me, I can tell you what to do, but it won't make any sense until you experience it. And it's true. I think we don't learn. Words don't teach necessarily. I think it's experiences. It comes through experience. So I'm extremely lucky that I had this incredible career. I sang at the Opera House in Covent Garden, and, all over. I mean, in many different countries, and it was wonderful. But you're right, it's quite lonely in a way, because you're traveling, then you're either performing or rehearsing and then performing, and then you sit in your hotel room. So I used to write. I used to read a lot. I mean, I do still read a lot. But then I started writing my own stories, and so I have loads of stories.
So this is how it all got started.
This is how it got started, yes. And then a few years ago, I got really unwell. I got really, really sick. And the consultants in the hospital said to me, you will never sing opera again. And I was like, no way, what am I going to do? It was awful. I was like in mourning for my voice. And now looking back, of course, things happen for a reason. And if I continued singing, I wouldn't now be writing, and I wouldn't be teaching in the way that I am. Because through being ill, I became very clear about what I wanted to do, what my contribution to the world has to be to make me feel good, as though I'm giving back. That was really important to me. So that's what I'm doing now. And I'm not saying I didn't do that before. Of course I did that before, but it's on a deeper level now, I feel,
But in a way you healed yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And and that's what I want to say to people. Sometimes we go through trauma, and it feels like the end of the world, and you just think, what am I doing? What am I going to do now? Trust it. Just trust it, because at the other end of that is magic often. That's where the magic lies. But you have to go through it.
Yeah, it's like an initiation, isn't it?
It's like an initiation. You have to go through it. And it's uncomfortable, and it's scary, and it's terrifying sometimes. It was for me, and it was very sad. I mean, like I said, I mourned my voice because it's all I really knew how to do. And I loved performing, and I was lucky enough that audiences loved me. And so it was very difficult to let go of that. And I can say, actually, this is going to sound really ridiculous. When I eventually got home and I was lying in bed, I was like watching television, I couldn't do anything, I was really ill. And I flicked on one of those programs about singing, which I never normally watch, ever. Because I don't like the way that sometimes people get humiliated.
Oh, like the X Factor or
the X Factor or one of those, But it was American Idol. And as I switched it on, Adam Lambert walked across the stage and he went, "Hi." And I'll never forget this. Someone said to him, "Are you scared?" And he goes, "I'm not scared." And then he started singing, and I just went, "Since when do they have real performers on these shows?" And it was his audition. And I've kind of been, listening to him and understanding because his voice is trained classically. I've met him and a few times and spoken to him about that, and he confirmed that he did have operatic training as a youngster, and you can hear it. I mean, and that helped me. So sometimes it's not only your own thing; it's watching other people and looking at their journey. So I've been following his journey, and in a way, it kind of felt like familiar to me. I knew what he was going through. Of course, mine was completely different and not as public as his. I'm probably a Z lister and he's an A+ lister or something like that. But it's not about that. It's about watching the journey, watching him go through. And it wasn't easy for him either. But the sound of the voice and the way that he improved and continues to improve and continues to grow, and he's just so lovely. And so it was another person's voice who helped me.
I wanted to come on to that, actually, the voice as a tool for healing, really, isn't it? And
it definitely is. I mean, the thing is, we all know that everything exists through energy and vibration. So everything is energy and vibration. And so therefore, being biased, I think everything is sound, of course, because it's vibration. And so imagine when you use your own voice, how you can feel it in your body, can't you? And so whenever you use your voice well and with intention and good intention, you heal all the cells of your body. But when you go to see someone with an amazing voice, like some amazing singer, like Adam, for example, because I've seen him live many times. I've travelled more seeing him almost than I did for my own career almost. That's not true, but yeah, almost. And it's wonderful to be in a venue where he's singing because the sound envelops you and it heals you, But yes, you are right that your own voice is a healing tool. And often as you perform on stage, you can feel that, You can feel that, so you give the energy to the audience and they give it back like 1,000-fold. Depends on how big the audience is, If you have a big audience, it really comes at you. And it can be overwhelming. I have seen singers kind of, get tearful, and because it's overwhelming when it comes back at you. But then you give it back, and then you have this exchange of energy, and there's nothing like it, which is why people go, well, for example, talking about Adam, he's now the front man for Queen, and people go, oh my God, why do the guys of Queen still have to perform? I mean, they don't have to, they don't need to, they've got all the money. It's not about money or how much it's to do with that thing, and once you experience it, it's ecstasy. It's ecstasy. Yeah, it really is, and you can't get it in any other way than performing. And
last night we had a lesson last night.
Yes.
Angelina was saying to me, and it really hit home. What you said to me last night. It was about you might think you've only got one audience, however big the audience is, but actually you are healing and performing to and creating art for every single individual in that audience. And so you're literally performing, however big your audience is, individual healings for each person and individual works of art for each person.
Absolutely.
And in a different way, because everyone experiences it differently, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's huge.
Yeah. And I really believe that, because I saw it so many times, and I genuinely believe that. I think that, especially performance artists, I feel that, because we are so immediate to our audience, and everybody can relate, especially with singing, people can relate because everybody has a voice, don't they? But when you are actually creating a piece of art, it's only half of the part. You're only half of it. The person listening to it makes up the other whole. So it becomes a whole. And you're right, if you are performing in front of no matter how many people, and here's the kicker, we're all performers at some level or another. We are. So even if you're talking just to one person or a few people, or you're singing, but even talking, it's a healing experience, because the voice is a vibratory thing. It's a healing experience. So when you are singing in front of 20,000 people or 2,000 people or whatever it is, you are creating on that one night 20,000 pieces of art or 2,000 pieces of art, because you're right, the people are not a mass. As an audience, they are individuals, and they come to you and they listen individually to you with their own filters, their own life experience, their own, where they are on their journey. And so it is uniquely these experiences that you're creating on that night, which is why I love live performance so much, because even if you're singing the same thing, and even if the choreography is the same and the show is the same, every night is different, because the people who come to see you are different. And I genuinely believe this. No art must just be art for art's sake. I feel it's a communication on the really deepest levels, and it must touch you, it must change you. It must change you. So even if you go to see a show, like many, for example, we're talking about Adam as well, lots of his fans who are called Lamberts, they go to all the shows, the Lamberts, they go to all the shows, and they go to one show after the next, and people who don't follow him don't understand that. But it's a different show every night, even though the choreography stays the same, the set is the same, everything is the same. And here's the kicker, you're different. Even if you saw him last night, you've been changed. So when you come tonight, you come with a different you.
It's stunning. And I know that technically in singing with the way that Angelina's training me, we talk a lot about technical stuff like placement of the sound and things like that. And I love that, but I also love how you talk about the placement of the intention. We can do the technical part, and you can be technically perfect, but it maybe isn't going to have the impact that it would have if you bring the emotion, right?
Right, exactly. And the intention, what is it that you want to communicate to your audience? And this is one other reason, I'm sorry guys, that I don't watch these shows on TV, because you get people and I can see in their eyes, they're either not there, they're terrified, and so they are delivering lyrics and a tune, or you get people who are desperate, they want to make an impact and they're like fighting for it, and it's desperation. And that's never what performance should be. Performance should be about communication. That's what it is about. And it is your intention of what it is you want to communicate. And don't forget that when you use your voice to communicate something, or any other form of art actually is true, it's your energy, it's your soul energy that is impacting whoever is listening to you, or whoever is watching you, or whoever is looking at your painting, or whatever it is. I really feel that very strongly. And I also think that the intention that you have underneath the meaning of the words, the tune, the whatever the show encompasses, that's what's important. That's the thing that makes artists stand out, where we go when we see someone and you just go, oh, I'm blown away, and it stays with you. The performance stays with you. Not only does it change you, it stays with you for years afterwards. You go, you know, that night, you know, it's like that. And I think that's really important. And we have that responsibility and privilege.
It is a privilege.
As performers.
Yeah. And I love the way that you, everything that you teach is so translatable into daily life. I mean, you mentioned that we're always performing.
Yeah.
But it's so true. And it is everything that you've taught me. I've noticed definitely working with you on the voice, because we don't just work on like the technicalities of singing. We have the whole discussion.
The whole thing. Yeah.
And
by the way, you're so good.
Well,
I have to say, so brilliant
work.
I hope one day you will put some singing thing on your
I will.
Show. You should.
She's going to get
brilliant.
We will, definitely. But I love it, because I've noticed that even working with you on the singing side of things has shifted my voice in my daily life and my confidence, and it's brought up a lot to heal.
Yes.
Especially to do with being a woman, and the throat chakra and the sacral chakra being the two kind of big components that we're working with, right?
Yes, exactly.
So can you talk to us a little bit about, because I think this is really important, the way that Angelina talks about the breathing side of things, where it all starts with the breathing in the body. Can you talk to us a little bit about this side of things?
Of course, yeah. Well, here's the thing. I mean, everything starts with breathing. The life begins and ends with breath, doesn't it? So in order to have a good voice production, effective voice production, and to be able to communicate what you want to say through sound and words, whether you're singing or speaking, you need a really good technique in breathing, because breathing supports not only the breath that you use to produce your sound with, it also supports your voice. It actually supports your voice. So to that, what a lovely segue, because I will say, and this is an exclusive, I'm writing a whole series of books on all the techniques, each separately, of the voice, starting with
breaking it all down.
It's
going to be phenomenal.
And it's interesting though, because you mentioned confidence. It's very interesting how even just changing our breathing can make us feel more confident, even though we didn't maybe feel so before, you know, or it can make us appear more confident even if we still don't feel it. And the more you do the breathing, and I'm talking about optimal abdominal breathing, okay? I'm not talking about diaphragmatic breathing. Most people breathe too high in their chest anyway, and there are lots of reasons for that. One of the biggest reasons is tension, you know, stress, because I spoke about it very briefly in one of my videos on my channel, but you meet people and you go, hi, how are you? And the first thing they go is, oh, I'm so busy, I'm so stressed. Do you know what I mean? And it's a catch-22, because the more stressed you are, the higher you breathe in your body, and the more higher you breathe in your body, the more stressed you become. Because here's the thing, if you breathe too high in your body, you divorce yourself from your feelings, from your emotions completely. And it causes stress here. So if you breathe high, you can see how, you know, your muscles tense and everything. So it's like, and it changes your voice. If I breathe high, it changes my voice completely.
It completely changes your voice.
Yeah. So abdominal breathing is much lower in your body. I mean, obviously your lungs are here. You can't breathe that low in your body physiologically. But what you are actually doing is you're extending your tummy a little bit as you breathe in, so that your lungs can elongate and breathe in from the bottom up. Most people never do that, and so unfortunately I think that's why a lot of people have respiratory problems, you know, because all the things that we breathe in, you know, pollen, dust, all kinds of things, goes into your lungs, and they sit at the bottom of your lung unless you can get them out. And so by breathing too high, they don't come out, they stay there. But the other reason we breathe so high, and you know, please take this with love, because I think it is given with love. I don't think people do this on purpose. we've all gone through it, and some of us may have participated in it. When we're very young, in order for us to fit in with society, people, parents, grandparents, teachers will say things like, don't say that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do. And what happens at a very young age, you start thinking, and
you're on edge, aren't you?
You're on edge because you start thinking, oh, I'm not good enough. There's something I'm doing that's not right, so I can't be myself. And it starts so young. There are studies, I mean, you can Google this stuff. There are studies that can prove that by the age of 2, it's set.
Yeah.
So people breathe that high because it divorces them from who they really are. And then, you go to school and you're being told, well,
and even worse if you were hit, right, as a kid.
Right.
You're bracing yourself.
You're bracing it, and you breathe
say
high.
Something wrong.
Yeah. Well, you think about it. If you're in pain, what do? You breathe short, sharp, shallow breaths, don't you? Because you don't want to feel the pain.
Or the anticipation of it.
Right.
I watched a video on YouTube the other day along these lines, actually, and it was like someone had put it up as a funny, right? But I didn't find
It's
it
not funny
at all. It was a collection of videos of tiny children. Some of them like probably about 1, like toddlers and really small babies. And it was, this is the funny reactions of these children when their parents say no to them, and it was awful to what I was like, what is going on? I can't remember how it popped up on my feed, and it was like the parents filming and going, so and so, no, like as a joke. Yeah. And then the kids bursting into tears.
Of course they do.
It's like putting your child through trauma.
It is.
Just to take a funny video. I was pretty appalled. So
that is
completely agree.
That's
like,
horrible.
All the kids were like shocked because all they're doing is playing.
Yeah. And being themselves. Yeah, and you take that away when you do that,
It shapes you.
It does. It really. And like I said, I mean, once it's set, it's set. Unless you do something consciously to break that, like studying breathing. And we know that deep abdominal breathing, optimal breathing really helps. This is why yoga teachers teach it, and Pilates, and actually there are many studies now about sports people. If they breathe abdominally, their performance get better. I mean, I know for dancers as well, I mean, often they breathe high because they squeeze their stomach, they pull their tummy in when they breathe in, which makes you breathe higher. So, and that's the other thing, of course, is fashions and trends and things. So people think, oh, I've got to pull my stomach in. But the thing is, if you breathe in and you pull your stomach in, it's got to go somewhere. So it goes high up in your chest. And as I said, I mean, you can hear when I do that, my voice changes. And it's not good. It's actually not good for you. It's not good for your voice, but it's not good for your body. It's not good for your health. There are many studies that's been done about deep, optimal breathing and the longevity of life. Because
that's why she looks so young and nubile at her 1,075,000 or whatever she thinks she is.
Thank you very much. It's true. It's breathing. Yeah. But the other thing is also, it really is about singing, Like I said, singing is a vibration. And when you sing, especially if your voice has been trained and you breathe correctly, or not correctly, we all breathe correctly, otherwise we'd be dead. I'm talking about optimal breathing, if you know what I mean. If you breathe optimally and you use your breath to sing. I mean, I always say to people, and I probably said it to you, the breath is like the canvas on which you paint your sound pictures. If the canvas is wobbly and weird and stuff, your pictures aren't right.
They're going to be not within the lines,
right? And the intention with which you then put out the sound and the words won't be clear. It won't. People just they won't. Sometimes people don't hear it, and often when I have trained people and they kind of go, okay, I get it now, I understand what I'm doing, they come back and they say things like, people are telling me that there's change in me. They don't know what it is. They think I've changed my hair or something, or I've got new glasses. Or it's nothing to do with that. It's just the way in which you then understand how to use your voice better when you start breathing better,
And the vibration of the sound and the cells and
everything.
Yes,
it's absolutely. And I genuinely think it's got something to do with why, when you are a singer, you think about Kirita Kanema.
Yeah.
How amazing is she? and her skin is stunning,
glowing, and
right?
you feel like you're being healed from head to toe in the presence of that sound. You think about Masaru Emoto's messages in water and the sounds of the water and how the words impact the water.
Exactly.
The beautiful harmonies, the harmonic, the way that you use the sound can be, I guess, healing or hindering. And one of the things I can't stand is this horrible discordant music that's on the radio. It's horrible. It's really awful. And you can feel it in your body if you're sensitive. You feel it like disjointing things. It's really not good.
No. Well, we're 70% water.
Yeah. So
can you imagine the beautiful things we can make with our sound? That's really important.
And you feel it when you're singing. If you're having, if you ever want to get in the shower and belt out a tune, you really feel it. And when you do breathe properly, you feel the difference because the sound flies. It flies and it feels. You don't feel it here. She calls it a head fuck. Sorry,
I do,
but it is. It's like your whole head is going. Bang.
Yeah. It is. It really is. And then you are in control of your voice. You you can direct it what you want it to do and stuff like that. I remember singing in I can't remember which opera now, but I do remember this one director saying to me, can you put that note behind this tooth? I'm like, okay then.
Position it.
But you can. I mean, you can, and you know that you've experienced it yourself. When you hum in a certain way, you sing you can feel the vibrations in your teeth. You can, and so of course you can feel it through your whole body. And I think that has something to do with why the skin is fabulous. Do you know what I mean? I really do. So if you don't want to spend vast amounts of money on skincare, go and study singing.
Definitely.
Also, you can't be sad and sing.
Also, your bum will get in shape because you can squeeze your bum really hard. My bum's rock hard since I started with her. I'm like, squeeze your bum.
And all the muscles you're using and everything. It's like going to the gym for the boys.
It's like going to the gym. It's really good. It's actually a really good workout, and that's the thing. It's
physical.
It's physical, technical. Far more difficult than you think until I guess it all clicks and then
But even so, I mean, I remember singing operas and losing weight during the opera. If it was a really heavy one, at the end of the night you like drenched and you're thinner. It's brilliant. Lost an inch.
Brilliant workout.
It's brilliant. It really is brilliant.
It's so true what you say about sound. I remember reading a book about the Australian Aborigines, a really good book called Mutant Message from Down Under, and it's only about 100 pages, but the woman is an American woman that goes and works with the Aborigines and with the tribe, and they say that they're very telepathic, this tribe. They can all speak, just they can hear each other telepathically. And it's a modern day book, they still do it, and they said to her, sound was only created for song and for devotion and for healing. And they actually say the voice was not meant for conversation. So we should use our voice with intention in every word we say.
Right.
Because it does.
Absolutely.
It sound creates. It's what creates form, formlessness into form.
Exactly. It really does. And I always say that to my students, be careful of the sound you make, because you think you're saying it and it's out. But it's out there.
You're anchoring it into the world.
You're anchoring it, and it's out there, and energy doesn't dissipate.
No.
It's there, But it is true what you're saying. I mean, I once worked with, I've worked with many opera singers, but I worked with this guy, and at the time I was too young. I didn't really understand what he meant. He said, but now I get it. Oh my Lord, do I get it?
The
pennies dropped, really dropped. I mean, he said, your voice is the direct manifestation of your soul in this 3D world.
It is.
And it is.
Yeah, it's your soul signature.
Yes,
isn't
it really is.
Yeah.
And once you start working with voice, and you start working with people with voice, you start hearing voices in a different way, and you get to know somebody in a way much deeper than you would if you just had a normal conversation with them and you weren't tuned into the sound that they're giving you, because the sound from your soul cannot lie. It cannot lie. It tells you everything about that person. Now, sometimes if I say this to people who just start singing, they freak out. They're like, oh, I don't want you to know me.
I'm going to be exposed.
Yes, I'm going to be exposed. Ah. Which is all our grace is fear. And the only reason it's a fear is because we fear that we will be found not good enough.
That's why I can't get one over on this one.
Yes,
I can hear it.
I can hear everything. But the thing is, we are all good enough.
Yes.
We are all good. We've always been good enough. We're all good enough. We will always be good enough. And so it's a shame that people feel they have to hide,
Yeah.
you know, but in fact they can't. And it's not just voice teachers. Empaths do this, but other people who supposedly don't feel anything. You just have to talk to them, and then you find out how quickly they will say things like, oh, I met this guy. Yeah, no, something about him I didn't like.
Yeah.
They can feel the vibes, the vibration, and often it's the sound of the voice that tells you who that person really is.
You can hear if
You can
someone's
hear
genuine
it.
or not too,
Yes.
can't you? You
Yeah.
can hear in the intonation. You
Yeah.
can, you know, there's body language and all kinds of
Of
other things, but you can hear it in the voice
Yeah.
if someone is in integrity or not
you
really.
absolutely
If
can.
you're listening, if you're
listening, yeah. And listening not just with your ears, with your body. Because when you breathe, optimally, well, when you breathe anyway, your whole body is breathing. It's not just your lungs. You know, people think, oh, my lungs are doing this and my ribcage. Yes, it's true, but all the trillion cells in your body is breathing at the same time.
Your blood's carrying oxygen
Yes,
everywhere.
it's breathing. Everything is, you know, and I read this thing the other day, and I don't remember it very well, but I remember this line: the breath of life. We're breathing life. We're breathing life. So, well, whilst you're breathing, not only are you alive, you're breathing life
and light. Because even, you know, one of the things when I've been studying kind of the universe and the quantum physics and everything that I kind of teach, is that there is no nothing.
No,
there is nothing that is nothing.
Right.
Every single bit, everything is alive. And if you look at things like the golden mean and vortex mathematics, even the energy that you can't physically see or tangibly touch, it is alive and it is there. And when I teach kind of raising your vibration, which singing does for you as well, really raises your vibration. And when I'm kind of preparing to channel a message or something like that, and that obviously channeling comes through in the spoken word, you can tangibly feel the energy in the air. It's like you want to sweep your hand through and you can actually move energy.
Right.
And I think we're only one step away from being able to literally materialize the unmanifest into the manifest, like create, you know, I want this, I want to hold it in my hand, I create it now.
Here it is,
And I think sound has a lot to do with that. You know, using the sound, using the breath, raising the vibration. I mean, last night, her aura was lit up like a Christmas tree. I'm like singing away going, Angelina! She's like surrounded in this white ray of light. It was magical, really
I felt very energized, I must say. But I think you're right about energy and what we breathe. And here's the thing, this is what fascinates me about breathing too. I mean, you can tell I'm a complete nerd about
she's a geek.
What fascinates me about breathing is this. We know that we breathe in, like I said, molecules and dust, and we breathe in oxygen and nitrogen and all. We breathe in molecules, right? But what else are we breathing in? So as we're talking, I'm also breathing in your intentions, your energy that you're giving off. And when I breathe out, I'm giving it back. Do you see what I mean? So breathing, that's why this line really fascinated me. We breathe life. Because I thought, yes, that is it. It says it all in that one line, that we are breathing more than air.
Yeah, it's plasma. It's the plunk, as Nassim Haramein says.
Exactly.
It's the building blocks of creation.
Which
is love.
Which is love. But you know, you were talking about being able to maybe make manifest in form just by, you know, sound and stuff. Like I said at the beginning, because everything is vibrating, I think everything is sound anyway. But I'm not a Christian, I'm not a religious person or anything, but there is something, I think, in the Bible, isn't there, that says in the beginning there was the Word. Now, I'm not sure that
the Word was made flesh.
And the Word was made flesh. Right. And so I think it's sound that creates
I agree. Because
everything.
there's something called the music of the spheres.
Right.
And I don't know if you've heard there's a recording that NASA put out of the music of the planets, of the space. And it's the music of the spheres. Now the spheres, the planets, obviously, but it's also the cells. It's
yes, exactly. I mean, you get these people who talk about the fact that maybe the entire universe is, you know, just another body, and we're tiny little thing, cell. You know what I mean? Who knows? That might be true.
Yeah.
So yes, I mean, everything is a cell. Yeah. Including the planets. I had that recording. I know exactly what you're talking about. I lent it to someone, and I can't remember who, and they never gave it back.
Stunning.
But
I think it's on YouTube now.
Yeah, you can get it. Yeah, but so sound I think is really important. You know,
vitally important.
Vitally important, because it does create everything. It creates everything. You know, and that's why I say to students when I work with them, don't just be careful the sound that you make. Okay, the words are yours. You need to take responsibility for your own words, but also please take responsibility for the sound that you're making, because sometimes you hear, you know, in the street or somewhere, you hear people screaming and yelling at each other. I'm like,
ooh, not nice.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that many musicians have, including me, is synesthesia. So I see sound. I see sound as shapes and color. So when people do that, oh, it's so sharp. The sound. You know, it's a kind of like, ooh, yeah, it hurts a bit. And I'm sure, even though musicians have synesthesia, I think everybody has the ability to feel when sound is right and when it's not, when it's bad. You know, so that's why I always say to be very careful, because when you put that out there and other people can hear it and they can hear the harshness of it, can you imagine what it's doing to your own body?
I know, yeah.
You know, because it's you making it. Yeah.
So in terms of these amazing books, because this wealth of knowledge, absolutely incredible. So these books, who are you predominantly writing these books for? Who's going to be...
Oh, thank you. That's a brilliant question. Well, I started off thinking that it would be aimed at singers and actors, because that's who I work with. I mean, not all my students are opera singers, although I hope you sing beautiful. She already sings a beautiful aria. But I work with jazz singers and musical theatre people and pop stars and rock people and stuff like that. So it's across the board singers, because the techniques work for any voice, and speakers, you know, actors and speakers. And I have a lot of clients that aren't actors or singers. They are, you know, they work in they're executives that work in banks and all sorts of things. I even had a judge once. But I think I wanted these books to be aimed at singers and actors primarily. But when I started writing the breathing book, which is the first one, it's called Breathing for Confidence.
Everybody could use a bit of that.
That's right. And so I thought, oh, it's wider, it's much wider. So I think ultimately these books are, although I'm aiming them primarily at singers and actors, anybody can use them, especially the breathing book. Breathing is for everyone.
It is for, well, we all do it.
We all do it. And there are techniques in there that will help people to breathe better. There are techniques in there that will help people to gain confidence through breathing. I talked briefly about, you know, your posture when you breathe, because a lot of us are on our phones and on computers and stuff, and you do need a more upright posture in order to breathe properly so that your lungs are extended. There's a lot of information in the breathing book that everybody can use. There are links there to other articles that people can go and look at the research I've done, and there are lists of the benefits of breathing well that goes far beyond singers and actors.
I'm thinking, you know, it could help asthmatics.
Oh yes,
all kinds of people.
All kinds of people, yeah. So there's lots and lots and lots of information in that first book. They're tiny books, so they're quick reads, And so if you, like, say for example, I'm a singer or a speaker or whatever, and I've got a specific issue with a technique, like say for example, I want to find out more about vibrato specifically, there's a book for that.
Wow.
But you don't have to read there are so
you're
many.
going through all the little technicalities,
yes,
each bit.
Each bit,
incredible.
Yeah. Because there are many books out there, fantastic books written by amazing people, thick books like
but
this.
They're huge.
They're huge. So you have to go through all of it and buy the entire book. If you just maybe want one little thing explained, or you want to investigate it more, or you want something that can help you immediately. I think we live in such an immediate world now. People want information.
They do, bite-sized chunks. They're used to downloading it or reading it on Google.
And very quickly. They want it very quickly. So here's the thing. I mean, a lot of the stuff, yes, is not secret. You can find it anywhere. But I have spent my entire life studying singing, and I have a few degrees in it now. So it is a study. It's a proper study. You know, it's interesting. Sometimes people don't realize, because we all have a voice. We can all sing. So people think, well, you just open your mouth and you sing, don't you? But actually, there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more if you want to sing well.
If you want much to it.
Yeah, and if you want to communicate well. Well, yes, you're on your journey. And I'm so thrilled that I can be part of your journey, because it's wonderful to see people's voices develop and how they develop into, you know, artists through the voice. It's a fantastic feeling. I'm very privileged.
So are you going to be running workshops as well alongside the books, or?
Actually, I have done workshops, many in the past, but because I'm trying to go more into the writing side now, I will make available videos, on short videos that will give information, and I will most likely develop an online course that someone can buy and do at their own pace without feeling vulnerable and
without feeling, oh, Angelina's going to see right through to my soul now.
No, but I mean, it is a vulnerable thing. You know that, don't you? When you go, the first time you go to any voice teacher, it is very exposing, because your voice is so deeply connected to your psyche. It's so deeply connected to your psyche. So when you even start just doing little bits of exercises with someone and you don't know them, it's terrifying. It really is terrifying.
Well, remember, after I think it was my first few lessons, I had a couple of lessons with you, or probably 3 or 4, and then completely lost my voice. Ended up, and I know that it was because we were breathing so deep that it was bringing up emotional stuff to be cleared.
Because that is what happens. And I always say that to people. Be careful, because I'm not a therapist, but I've, through the years, and it brings up really, you know, serious stuff. I remember this very young lawyer came to see me once, and she wanted, and wow, when she first started speaking to me, I thought, I can hardly hear her. She was almost whispering. And as we were doing voice work and her voice started getting stronger, she told me that she was abused as a child.
Wow.
And it showed up in her voice. And it was amazing, because she'd never spoken about it ever to anyone, ever. Now, I couldn't do anything with that, because, as I said, I'm not a therapist.
But you are. It's like you are a natural healer, though, because these techniques are sort of moving things through the body anyway. Like,
yes, there is a form of healing, of course, yes, and I have my first 1 year psychology, but not enough to be a therapist. I wouldn't say that I am. So I did sort of, you know, suggest she goes to see somebody who could help her, who could talk to her. And that happens sometimes, you know. But you are right, it brings up all kinds of stuff that we think we've dealt with, you know, or things that we've forgotten.
Yes.
Stuff you completely forgot about, and suddenly here it is. And you go, what? Because I'm working on my voice? How ridiculous. But that is exactly what happens,
It shows how important it is.
And how healing it is. Because you can only heal something when you can see it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, for the people watching, Could you teach them a little breathing technique or talk to them a little bit about how they can breathe a little bit better?
Yes, of course. So the first thing to do, of course, I'm seated, so I'm not going to get up, otherwise the levels are going to be weird.
We just won't have her head anymore.
Yes. So the thing is, your posture is really important. The first thing to do is your posture, okay? So not to be like rigid, like military rigid, but elongate your spine and put your shoulders back and down. So many people study dance or had studied dance, and dance teachers have a habit of saying things like, imagine there's a string attached to the crown of your head and you're pulling it. Can you feel if you do that? It pulls up. It pulls everything up. And by doing that, as your spine straightens and you're pulling up, your lungs elongate. Can you feel it? I'm sure you can feel it, right? Okay, so now, most of us, as I said before, we breathe too high in our bodies. We breathe in our chest, so we do this breathing. And that's really bad for your body. It's also really bad for your voice, okay? So the thing to do, so I'll stand up. I know people can't see my face, right?
Yeah.
But you need to see my body. So what you need to, I'll stand to the side so you can see. So as you breathe in, your stomach moves out a little bit. So all you do is you relax your tummy. And you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, your tummy will automatically go in.
So no holding that tummy in.
Yeah, don't hold it. And don't breathe like this. Because can you see what happens? If I pull my stomach in, then the breathing goes really into my chest again, you know? Because what you want to do is you want the breathing to go, the air to go right down into your lungs. Okay? So that's optimal abdominal breathing. That's what it's called, okay? So we breathe. So again, just watch my tummy. It's lovely. You can see it quite clearly. So relax your tummy as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, it will just automatically go back to where it was before you breathed in.
Oh, and it's so much more relaxing,
it's
isn't
very
it?
relaxing,
than holding
isn't
in your tummy and kind of going...
Yeah, it's very relaxing. And so just do that for a bit, you know. And here's the thing. If you do that and it becomes part of your natural way of breathing, you will find yourself becoming calmer, stress will disappear, you'll sleep better, you'll think clearer. As I said, there's a whole list of things in the book, but it's things like, you know, people who have respiratory problems, so asthma, respiratory problems, it goes away. It helps your blood pressure to stabilize. It does all kinds of amazing things. Breathing is the most important thing that we can do for ourselves to give ourselves the gift of health. It really, because even if you're in pain, if you breathe deeply in your body, it helps with the trauma of pain. It does, you know. So
that's why they do Lamar's breathing.
Right,
birth,
exactly, exactly. Or meditation. You know, when you meditate, you know, people talk about abdominal breathing, and so if it's the kind of breathing that you practice all the time, and it becomes part of your natural way of breathing, I promise you, your life will change. It'll be better, because, and that's without voice work. That's just breathing. And it's the beginning of breathing. There's lots of other things you can do, which is in the book, but this is the one thing that will help everybody. I know it will. So and it becomes a habit really quickly, you know. It really does, because it's a very fabulous feeling. It's a fabulous feeling in your body. And you can feel yourself relaxing completely, can't you?
Yeah, and it's very grounding, because you feel a lot more connected to the body. So those of us who are like flighty channels and spiritualistas, and you know, I'm Libra, so air sign, it's very air sign too, well. Gemini. Yeah, we have to kind of focus a little bit more to kind of be ground here and in the body,
and centered. It centers you, and that is the thing. So if look what happens if I slump and I just breathe like. See, if I slump and I just breathe like this, and I just talk to you like this, it's not so cool, right? Everything changes. But if I straighten my spine and I breathe abdominally, I appear almost immediately more confident, more open, you believe more what I say, don't you?
Absolutely.
And so that is also another benefit of it. Even if you don't feel it, sometimes we wake up in the morning and for whatever reason we don't feel confident, you know. You don't have to feel confident, just do this. Here's the other thing though. We know this, studies have shown this, and we all know this, that if you change your physiology, you change your emotions. So just by straightening your spine or pulling up, and putting your shoulders back and down and breathing abdominally, you change your physiology. And if you slump like this, you might think, oh God, today is going to be so hard. I've got so many things to do. But if you do this, you go, okay, it's going to be a tough one, but you know what? I can cope. I can do it. I can face it. Just by changing your physiology and your breathing.
And if you slow your breathing down and you breathe properly, you slow yourself down too, so you don't feel as frantic.
Exactly.
You don't feel rushed, do you?
Exactly. And this is the thing with abdominal breathing. You can't breathe too fast.
Yeah.
You can't.
You have to slow down.
You have to slow down. It forces you to slow down. It does, yeah. Because like we said, but the only other thing is, it also makes you feel stuff. It makes you feel stuff. So you know sometimes when you meet people and you go, I'm not sure about that person, but you go against your instincts and then things go wrong. Here's the thing. If you breathe deep like this, you're in touch with your intuition all the time. And so when you do meet that person that you go, I don't think that's a good... The chances are that you'll talk yourself out of that is diminished a lot. Yeah.
You're much more connected.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So you asked me about the books. So they haven't all been written. I'm in the middle of writing the breathing book. It should come out hopefully before Christmas. Hopefully. So there will be an ebook, a paperback. Tiny paperback, because some people like to hold it in their hands, also for easy reference, I guess, and an audio book, which I will do.
And where will they be available?
Or Amazon for sure, but I think in other places as well. But you'll definitely be able to get it on Amazon for sure. And then by June next year, all of them will be out.
Amazing.
All of them, all the little books. So I think there's about 9 of them. So,
fantastic. The whole series.
The whole series. So they talk about not just breathing, obviously, they talk about the voice and all the different, like you were saying earlier, voice placement, vibrato, tone, how we use it, how we create it, what if something goes wrong. So some people go, oh, I have a very nasal voice. How to overcome that, how to make that go away, or some people are lisping, how to make that,
or stammering or
something like that, all of those things. And then I also talk briefly about performance, because here's the thing, we were talking about performance a lot today in this video. When people say a performance, you're performing, they immediately think you're performing, right? It's not about that. It's about finding the truth of who you are and then communicating that. And that is performance in its truest sense. So I will talk about that, and I talk about body language. There's like I said, there's a whole series. They're tiny, tiny little books, so people can put it together. And eventually I will put them together as a bundle, and people can, if they really want to, they can have it all together. You know, like a book.
And once they're all out, I'll add all the links as well, so that where people can find them as well.
Thank you.
And I will put your website so people can find you.
Thank you.
What I really also want to talk about though is that, you know, this is not your first foray into writing. You've been writing for some time, haven't you?
I have been writing. Yes, I have been writing, but I've been writing mostly novels and novels and plays and children's books and things like that. A few years ago we did a show that I created in the West End, and we're working more towards that now. But yes, I've been working on other books. So I've written a children's book, which is the first book in a series, but I haven't had time to write the others
yet.
You're a
busy lady, look at all these things that you're doing.
But I will get there. So
let's show people.
Shall I show people what it looks like? So this is the children's book, and it's called George and the Gargoyle Who Lived in the Garden. And it's hilarious because although children really love this, and it's been out for a little while, I haven't done any promotion for it.
Wow.
Adults love it. So a few of them have said to me, you've written a children's book for adults.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I wrote it for myself. So
Amazing.
yeah. And then this book is The Healing Touch.
I love the cover of this.
I love the cover. I have an amazing cover designer, and she did this beautiful cover. This book is semi-biographical, and it's based on true events. So this happened when my best male friend died. Shortly after we finished the show in the West End, he died. So it's kind of about his story, but there are fictional bits in it and stuff. There's a fictional love story in it and stuff. And again, this is the first in 5 books, but the others aren't available yet. And then this is my fun books. This is my romance series.
Oh, I love.
Okay, so this is the first one, called Under a Namibian Sky. So I was born in Namibia, and writing these are fantastic because I feel like I go on holiday every time. And there's elephants in it and all the kinds of things that you would imagine you would find on an exotic holiday.
Wow.
So these are fantastic books. So if you are looking for something to escape into the sun, away from the cold, and you want to go
need at the moment.
Yes, it's cold here. So so these books are fabulous. So it's this one is the book, and then this Love in Medina is the follow-up novella of what happens in this book.
Wow.
In Love in Under a Namibian Sky, because what I like about books is I want to know what happened. You know, okay, these are happily ever after endings, because I don't like romances where they're
No,
on.
I don't.
Yeah, I like.
I'm a happy ending girl.
Yeah, I'm a happy ending girl.
That sounded a bit
I want
wrong.
all the love and everything. Yeah, but then I'm curious about what happened. What happens once they got married? What happens once they're together? What happens afterwards? And so, you know, this Love in Medina book is what happens afterwards in this couple's life. The next book in the series is coming out, and it will be out probably by February. It's called Heat in the Desert. And although these books are set in a similar setting, the characters are slightly different. So the main characters are slightly different, but you will continue to meet the others. So if you've fallen in love with them, they are there.
Continue on through the story.
Yeah, it continues on. So there are many of those books to come.
Amazing.
So yeah. So.
Wow, my gosh, honey, you do so much and you do such beautiful work, and I'm so pleased to have you on the show so that people can find out about what you're doing.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Such a pleasure, and
it's such an honour, and I can't wait for these breathing and performance books to come out. I really think they're going to revolutionise things a little bit. You know, it's to have them there as a reference.
Yes,
I think it's going to be absolutely brilliant.
Well, I hope so, because I think, you know, as I say, there's the two schools. Either people think, well, you just open your mouth and stuff comes out, and they can't understand why it's not effective necessarily. I mean, I work with a lot of. Okay, let me say this very briefly. I work with a lot of female executives who tell me things like, I'm the only one in the boardroom, and when I speak something, nobody seems to hear me. And then the guy next to me would repeat what I've just said, and he gets the credit for my work. And I hear this over and over and over again. And so hopefully these books will help people like that to see that doesn't have to be the way. It's not the way. And it is usually people who think, well, you just open your mouth and stuff comes out, and why is nobody listening to me? And then you get the other side where people go, voice is just so mysterious, I don't think I could ever find out what it's about. I don't know how to do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's for those kind of, but like I said, I aimed it originally at singers and actors, but then as I was talking about it to people, they kept saying, no, this is brilliant, because it will help other people.
It will help other people. I often think, you know, even if you don't think you can sing, it's a good idea to learn, because it just do it for fun.
The joy of it.
Like I get in the shower in the morning and belt out my tunes, and I'm like, I don't care if the neighbours can hear me. My little sister's hilarious. She lives in Sydney in an apartment building, and she's always up doing like show tunes. And the neighbours always see her in the lift and go, I loved your repertoire this morning.
But that's what it should happy.
It's
because it brings
wonderful.
joy.
It does.
brings joy.
It does.
Yeah, and that's important.
Well, you bring joy, my darling.
Oh,
I'm so
thank you.
pleased that you got to speak to us today. So just for the viewers, how can people get hold of you? Have you got a website where
Yes,
they can find
I
everything?
do. Thank you. Yes, just my name, angelinakalahari.com.
Great.
It's
and
my
I'll put
my
the-
website, and you can find me on Facebook, same thing, Angelina Kalahari. Twitter, Angelina Kalahari, because
Oh, there was a typo.
yeah, yeah, Pinterest same, Instagram the same, LinkedIn the same. You can find me under Angelina Kalahari everywhere.
Everywhere.
I also have another podcast and website that is just about voice and mostly about Adam Lambert, and it's called The Sound Bath. So if you go online and you Google The Sound Bath by Angelina Kalahari, you'll find all of it.
Find
And it's
it.
years I've been doing it, so you'll find a lot of
Amazing.
information.
I'll put some links below in the info anyway, so that you guys can find her and hear more and
Thank
listen
you.
to her podcast.
Thank
And,
you so much.
Very, very, very pleased that you've come on the show, and I'm so excited to hear about these books. And
Oh, thank you,
my
darling.
darling. And for those of you who are watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like or comment or share or subscribe and let us know.
Lovely,
We'd love to
brilliant.
hear any feedback, actually.
And also, here's the other thing, if I may, if you know something or you want to add something to what I've said, or you do put it in the comments, because
comments, yeah.
sometimes people read it or not sometimes, they'll read it and then we learn from each other, as well. You might maybe write something there that nobody thought of, and then they read it and they go, oh yeah, that makes sense.
That's a good point.
That
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
We're all learning from each other all the time, aren't we?
Yeah, it's important.
Very important.
Yeah, we're all humans.
We're all humans, yes.
Thank you so much for having me,
Oh,
my darling.
thank you. Thank you
Lovely.
so much, Angel.
And thank you, my love.
Thank you. And for all of you guys, thank you for watching.
Mwah.
Mwah.